All right, so it looks like we're having some quality uh, trick. Ah, cool. It worked the second time around. All right. I suppose in Twitch's defense, it's been getting up. So I prefer it when it just doesn't happen, but I think we're out of the period where it would take like 8 or 9 resets. I'm just going to take a quick second and chat. I'm just going to also delete the old VOD. But yeah, we're ready for Darkest Dungeon tonight. I do apologize for being later than I wanted. I really should probably just stop trying to guess how long it's going to take me to go out. But in as by way of shout out to Olaf, I actually went out to get a coffee. Like I didn't need to go out and get a coffee. I got some tea in the mail today, and I am capable of making coffee at home. But I did want to go out and sort of have a walk. It started snowing. Well, it was snowing when I went out, but like it really started snowing while I was outside. And I don't know, like it's also there's some kind of a festival going on downtown, so it's a little more crowded than I was expecting. But I don't know. Just the biggest thing is, especially on like a Friday, where I already kind of have a bit of a track record of starting later, and just because it's like the end of the week, and I'm kind of decompressing. We're getting at the end of our fiscal year, so there's just a bunch of stuff for me to do. I think I'm pretty much on track for sort of ticking all of the boxes in terms of stuff that I kind of need to do as far as like performance reviews and stuff like that are concerned. But I don't like even if I don't necessarily think the workplace is like that great. I don't like phoning stuff in, and I don't like box ticking. I like making sure the job is done properly. But with all of that in mind, I definitely benefit from just a proper like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do something that's like it's not reading. It's not like it's not work masquerading as work. It's no programming. Is I'm just gonna go for a walk and I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to some music or just generally do my thing. And I realize that that's not always great for streaming, but it's good for me. And hopefully that means that I put on a better show than if I don't give myself that little break. So, with all of those excuses and all of that out of the way, I am going to open up Darkest Dungeon. We're going to watch the opening cinematic, and we're going to see whether or not I can capture some of the magic that we ended on last week.
Ruin has come to our family. You remember our venerable house? Opulent and imperial, gazing proudly from its stoic perch above the moor. I lived all my years in that ancient, rumor-shadowed manor, fattened by decadence and luxury. And yet I began to tire of conventional extravagance. Singular, unsettling tales suggested the mansion itself was a gateway to some fabulous and unnameable power. With relic and ritual, I bent every effort towards the excavation and recovery of those long-buried secrets, exhausting what remained of our family fortune on swarthy workmen and sturdy shovels. At last, in the salt-soaked crags beneath the lowest foundations, we unearthed that damnable portal of antediluvian evil. Our every step unsettled the ancient earth. But we were in a realm of death and madness. In the end, I alone fled laughing and wailing through those blackened arcades of antiquity, until consciousness failed me. You remember our venerable house, opulent and imperial. It is a festering abomination. I beg you, return home, claim your birthright, and deliver our family from the ravenous, clutching shadows of the darkest dungeon.
Darkest Dungeon is about making the most of a bad situation. Quests will fail or must be abandoned. Heroes will die, and when they die, they stay dead. Progress autosaves constantly, so actions are permanent. The game expects a lot out of you. How far will you push your adventurers? How much are you willing to risk in your quest to restore the hamlet? What will you sacrifice to save the life of your favorite hero? Thankfully, there are always fresh souls arriving on the stagecoach, seeking both adventure and fame in the shadow of the Darkest Dungeon. Actually, speaking of decadence and luxury, it just occurred to me that in addition to the coffee, I bought myself a donut and I put it in my backpack, but didn't take it out. So my coffee's more warm than anything now. So
I see something long absent in the sunken faces of passers-by. A glimmer of hope.
So, the reason I say that, the tea I got is actually like a coffee-flavored tea, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's not exactly that, but it's probably the best explanation I can give. So you need Wayne June to read you bedtales. Just hire him to narrate your life. Some people want to do that with Morgan Freeman. I think that came from an XKCD comment, actually, but yeah, some people say they want Morgan Freeman to narrate their lives to them. You can have Wayne June. I'll hire James Earl Jones. But yeah. So you may notice from the event, for those of you who weren't here last week or maybe had to leave before the end of the stream, we decided to do one more round, and that one more round was of Curse and Countess. Waves of relief wash over the hamlet as the good news spreads. The Countess is dead, and her curse is now curable. Removes the Crimson Curse from all affected heroes. Crimson Curse is now also now treatable at the sanitarium, which I suppose means that it's possible for people to still catch it. I would have to guess that this would be if we go to the courtyard. But yeah, I was very happy at the end of last stream in terms of how the Countess fight went. So I know it's taken me a little bit to sort of ramp up into the broadcast. So just a recap of what I want to try and do. Weeks ago, we crossed the point where I had kind of gone my furthest in Darkest Dungeon. I don't think I'd ever beaten the Brigands, for instance. So in terms of the base material, I believe it is just the Drowned Crew that is sort of the remaining fight for me. Now, in terms of DLC, I seem to be a little bit stuck on the farmer, or at least kind of the second version of the farmer, and it's definitely been a while since I've had to do that fight. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about sort of delaying some journeys into the Darkest Dungeon over that, particularly because it does seem to need level 6s. So what I'm potentially doing is exposing my most precious units towards something that, is a nice to have, but is certainly not in line with sort of achieving what I really want to do in this game, which is to finally see the Darkest Dungeon. It's worth remembering that I did actually buy this game in early access. I played this game first in early access, on stream no less. And while this save may not be the one that I started in early access, it's very fair to say that it's a game that I've played on and off, and I haven't really gone as far as I have right now. So I do kind of want to try this stuff out and make some progress. It looks like we need at least 3 runs in the Darkest Dungeon, so I'll have plenty of bodies to throw at it. But that's kind of roughly where I'm thinking. And of course, if we lose some people in the Darkest Dungeon, that'll just free up some spaces to do some more training. But I'm trying not to lose too many people. Now, So, just in terms of the reason I mentioned the donut thing is that my plan here is I do want to do a full stream, and I actually kind of want to try and really make something of the night once the stream is done. So, what I might do partway through the stream is I might take a break to try out some of that tea, because that'll also give me an excuse to go into my backpack and get my donut, because I'm kind of craving it now. And that'll give me what I need for the second half. Now, before we go any further, let's take a look at some blueprints, because I believe I have enough for. Oh wait, are we only working on the Red Hook now? Yes, we are. Okay, well I can shut up because yeah, I need 750. All right, so we've got a full roster. The usual routine has been to move as many units as I can up to level 5 and then go after the boss, just to use it as a nice opportunity to level people up. There is the Garden Guardian, so I genuinely do not know what this is, and it would be neat to try it out, but, well, I guess it's a level 5, so I suppose I could also use that as a leveling up opportunity. But yeah, I do want to kind of continue on the path that I have so far, which is to try and get as many people leveled up to 6, or as close to 6 as I can get them. So we're going to do a sort by level. I've already taken care of the people with the stresses and whatnot. And in this case, we're going to try either the Scout. I would actually prefer the Explore because of its length, but let's just see whether or not we've got the bodies for it. So, Wissant, Aisling. I'd love to bring along Olaf, but Olaf's a little stressed out right now. I've got a Highwayman. There's definitely ways of making this work. But what if I... Yeah, so if I moved back to a position 3... I can bring the Flagellant. Okay. So as usual, we're going to take the opportunity to kind of buff my people. I just want to make sure that I don't have any obvious replacements. Nope. I do eventually want to mess around with the campfire as well, but that's not as critical for me right now. And what's really driving this decision here is just the longer the journey, the more XP. And so in this case, if I can, I want to prioritize medium and long expeditions for the ones where I'm leveling up my people. I think I'm still going to have some gaps as far as getting people to like level 4, level 5 and things like that, but I want to try and push as many people up to that level 6 zone without the only thing I'm going to be cautious about is I really do not want to artificially extend, like, I don't want to have like 2 or 3 streams where I'm just like trying to eke out that one little bit of marginal resolve XP just for the sake of, you know, of completeness. We're probably going to lose some people, and so I should I should just acknowledge that and move on. I'm trying to think as to what, I mean, it's rare for me to have so many really high quality items on some relatively low level people, but I mean, I might as well use them, right? There is actually one other thing that I want to do, which is I'm drowning in cash right now, so if I can, it would be nice to try and treat some of the worse conditions. So Kaya, I think we could maybe try and kill the Nocturnal. Chia, maybe get rid of Calm. And Cruel. Yeah, I want to get rid of a couple of these. So we'll ditch soft first. Okay, on we go. Well-placed supply item can often protect against the hazards of interactive objects you encounter. I mean, they can.
Pace out
But
the
it's not
halls
really
of your
worth it.
lineage, once familiar, now foreign.
Okay, so this is a pretty obvious choice here. It's a free room with possibly a curio, and I think it's more likely that the various curios are going to be... Passages are unsettling. I think the curios are going to be better for us overall because the Crimson Curse has now been dealt with. Or possibly they're just going to be less frequent. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but either way, you know, the surprise vampires are not quite the same threat that they were before. So we do know we have a fight coming up in the next room. But we'll do fine. Got a couple stress dealers, but nothing nothing we can't handle.
Obliterated.
Let's kind of close and yeah. I messed up on that because there was potentially the second stress dealer, but that's fine, we'll get through it.
The ground quakes. Decimated.
Good work, V. So the Abyssal Artillery is not going to help us out here. Let's go for... Both of them have the same dodge. So this one moves first, but I wanted to try and hit the gladiator because of the bleed. Rape shot might be enough, or it just misses completely. Oh, that's interesting. So speed
Exposed to a killing blow.
Why did I think that the skeleton was faster?
Annihilated. Destroyed.
So a little sloppy, but most of the damage went to the flagellant. So that's the kind of person who we want to get hurt.
Horrors brought low and driven
Contents
into the
are
mud.
yours. Okay. So we get another free room. If I don't get any other information, I'll probably just go out and around. My general feeling is I like to try and... I usually like to try and... Is that a sparkle of coin? I see. I need a bandage. Oh, good. Or not. Nope. Make up your mind, game. But yeah, so... My usual feeling on these are that the earlier I go sort of running around and exploring, the more I kind of lock in the progress on the level. And that means that if I face like a really tough fight, then I can start saying things like, ooh, you know, there's a scary monster in this room, so we're going to go around it. So this one's a little bit of a tricky one because the path I'm thinking of right now, you know, I can go empty room, and then just hope I don't run into anything too scary here. Or I can say, okay, well, I'm doing all right now, so we'll move into the room battle with the Curio, and I'm signing myself up for a minimum of 3 fights within reasonably close proximity to each other. It's possible that I'm also signing on to a 4th one. So, as it is, the person who's got the most damage on them, or actually the only person who's got damage on them is the Flagellant right now, who is certainly equipped to handle something like that. But this is one of the cases where I would actually consider, basically because of what the map showed me, this is one of these cases where I would actually consider going around, because I am potentially signing myself up for something that's going to leave me weaker than I would normally want. I mean, this is definitely going to have some stress implications, but we can pierce the protections.
Another one falls.
Nice.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
Maybe Howl? Nope. Ooh. Looking good.
The bigger the beast, the greater the glory.
Hat protection meant nothing to them. Wow.
Remind yourself that overconfidence
So yeah, forget
is a
everything.
slow and insidious killer.
Forget everything I said about wanting to be cautious. This has worked out pretty well for us. So I could do the Serpent Sway, but again, we're doing pretty well. I'm going to take out the Marksman, just because the Bone Commander can absorb quite a bit of damage. So obviously the bleed isn't going to do anything, but spreading the love over the back row is still a priority for me.
Press this advantage.
I was kind of hoping the Abyssal Artillery would take care of it. But there we go. Now we get to focus down on the Bone Commander. We get to do the minus prop.
Perched at the very precipice of oblivion.
I think probably Exsanguinate on him. So this amplifies the damage for the rest of the party. Obviously, that's good for me. Good crit.
Their cursed champion falls.
So I was kind of hoping for maybe a bigger heal on the Flagellant, but certainly not a bad outcome. Oh, nice. Okay, so overall, I'd say that's a pretty fair trade. Yes, it's 3 fights, but you get the RNG this time, but next time you're doomed. Yeah. You know, actually, so I can speak a little more freely with you around Olaf. Darkest Dungeon has been such an unusual one.
The path is clear.
Because I think you'll
only the
remember
strength to follow it.
when I was playing this, there was kind of a regular who came in and was really insistent on talking about like how the game cheated, and like I kind of felt like they were trying to convince me that I shouldn't like the game because they didn't like it. And I was kind of like, well, but I do like the game, and I'm not very convinced by your arguments about RNG. And then like I always tease Night Valiant for his opinions on RNG because like this comes up in his channel as well. And I mean, like it's a hard conversation because in one sense I get where people are coming from on this, which is, you know, I was playing a game and something made me upset. I stopped having fun in this game when this thing happened to me. Hey, Night Valiant, there we are. So, like, in this sense, I sort of understand the, like, where people are coming from in that sense. And I sometimes wish that people were a little more honest that that's what the conversation was. But something kind of interesting's happened in terms of gaming, where, like, people have a much greater, like, knowledge of at least some of the terms that go into it, right? Like, I'll admit I don't really have, like, so I'll hear a few terms kind of thrown around, and I think I have an idea about what they might mean, but I don't like have a really good grip on them. But like the fact of the matter is like it's very clear that people know more about how games are made, at least in broad strokes, than they used to. And this can be good be good and bad. Like, in one sense, it potentially allows for deeper conversations about games, but also sometimes this terminology can be used like to try and push a point of view that maybe doesn't have to be made. Like again, I really do think that there's some value in terms of just saying that this happened and it upset me, because that's a completely valid thing to say about a game, right? It's an entertainment product, you know. I like Winterlight, I like The Seventh Seal, I like Andrei Rublev. These are all fairly dry foreign films, and I completely understand if someone does not want to hear like a foreign language for up to 3 hours for some of these movies, you know, with black and white photography where not a whole lot happens over a long period of time. You know, I'm not going to call them a Philistine for not appreciating the genius of Ingmar Bergman or Andrei Tarkovsky or anything like that. But like, if somebody then turns around and says that like, oh, the cinematography of Andrei Rublev is really terrible, and I'm like, no, actually, it is a rather well shot film. It may not be quite to your taste, but I would propose that there are actually some things in that are quite unique. And I mean, in that case, that's taking understanding of how films work and using it in support of an argument, which I think, as a matter of taste, is perfectly defensible. But of course, in this case, to say that it's poorly photographed, therefore I did not like it, it's like, no, you probably didn't like it because it's kind of boring. Like, I find it interesting, but I'm not going to say everybody else has to. But yeah, obviously, I feel comfortable enough that Night Valiant knows I'm not making fun of him to say that. There's some names I won't mention because I think people will take that the wrong way. But like, Night Valiant and I talk about this very often, and I think one of the things that comes up often is that I think there's a tendency for gamers to want to make these very artificial rules for games, where it's things like you should never use seeded RNG, and I'm like, well, nobody, like, that rule exists purely from someone who, you know, doesn't like the fact that they're not able to reload their save and, you know, and get a different outcome. Like, you know, this is, to me, totally consistent with what Darkest Dungeon advertises to you. Now, that may not be an experience you like, you know, that's fine. You just say you don't care that much for Darkest Dungeon. But like, the idea that somehow developers are doing something wrong by seeding RNG is, you know, is obviously, I think, pushing the argument further than it needs to be. That's obviously not something that Night Valiant has said. That's something somebody else said. But the problem is that when you get into these kinds of conversations, like, it gets kind of ridiculous really quick. Like, seeded RNG is what makes so many roguelikes work, right? It's how, you know, you're able to, you know, if you do like a speed run and you want to link up to what other people do to like do the challenges, you can use the seed for that. And obviously that's something that people would not consider to be some like terrible violation. You know, in that case, you're removing some of the, like I said, I guess the idea here is that, you know, you have two players, and it's not like a player got unusually lucky or unusually unlucky in terms of the outcomes. They were actually given even the same roles in certain circumstances. Like if you were to play the XCOM 2 daily challenge, you know, you get the same stream of random numbers that everybody else does, but you don't know what that stream of random numbers is going to be. So, you know, if you miss that shot, chances are, you know, if any other player would have taken that shot, they would have missed it as well. And it's a little bit more of a measure in terms of the decisions that the players made. And to me, I think that's one reason why people find that sort of stuff quite satisfying. But anyways, I kind of went past the point. Like, it was really just to kind of mention to Olaf's comment on RNG, because I found it so funny that out of all of the games that I could be playing, the one that has people like seemingly trying to convince me that the game is not good and I shouldn't like it, based on their opinions of the RNG, it was this one, because I just think there's other games that I've played with elements of chance where, like, it sometimes actually is quite frustrating to miss out on them. I don't know though, right? Like something happened to that person to make him not like the game, and it's a shame because I actually really enjoy this. Also, you know, I'm not just going to talk about Night Valiant in the sense of our conversations about RNG on his channel. He's been playing XCOM lately, so or well, actually, he hasn't been playing it the last couple of times. But Night Valiant is a soft-voiced Brazilian streamer who tends to stream quite late. So for those of you that do, that are looking for something after I'm done streaming, I do tend to host him in the evenings to try and boost his numbers. Although Tiberiosity, who's a nice he's more of a Halo streamer. I think Tiberiosity has been slowly creeping up the ranks in terms of like the share of Night Valiant's audiences. So I might be slowly getting pushed out, and I'm just the person who makes fun of Night Valiant for his opinions on RNG rather than the patron of his stream.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
That's fine. I'll just blame it on your RNG opinions. Besides, I thought your favorite Canadian was the comedy group.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
I really don't need to be bringing the blood with me, but I'm still gonna take it.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage.
Actually, sorry, I was trying to remember the gaming term that I was struggling to remember. To give you an example in terms of like gaming terms that seem to have kind of fallen into common use, the idea of a gameplay loop. So like, you know, I'll hear a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, this game's got a really tight gameplay loop," and like, I sort of get it. Like, I know programming reasonably well, so I'm certainly quite familiar with the idea of a loop, and in fact, I don't think you would need to know programming very well to understand the concept of a loop. I think that's a fairly intuitive one. And I also kind of get that in video games, it's quite common for me to take a certain action and do it over and over. So like, you know, in terms of the Darkest Dungeon, you know, I go into the dungeon and I move from room to room and something happens to me, and sometimes it can be a fight and sometimes it can be a curio, and then when the dungeon is done, I go back to the hamlet to maintain my group. Like, so, or, you know, if you were to describe a battle royale, right, you drop down from the sky, you make a decision in terms of where you go, in terms of getting loot, but maybe not going to places that are so desirable for loot that you're going to run into players that might be better or better equipped than you. And then once you've sort of accumulated it, then you try to run that strategy of taking favorable fights until you kind of winnow down the field to the last few, and then that's where you kind of bring all of those resources you've earned to bear towards the final fight. And you can say this about just about any game. So like, I sort of, in broad strokes, sort of understand that idea, but I don't know what the difference between a tight and a loose gameplay loop is. You know, there are some that I find more compelling than others, is the best that I can say.
A time to perform beyond one's limits.
I think I'm going to accept some of the stress damage here. I prefer not to, but yeah, fair enough. But like, for example, like, so it's why I tend not to talk about it, because I don't really feel equipped to talk about things like gameplay loops. And I where I can, I dislike using terminology. I dislike using terminology that I really don't no. I think it's mostly just because if I do that and I'm mistaken, I lose a chance to learn.
Surges as the enemy crumbles.
All right, that's a bit of a shame. I'll do the Serpent Sway just so I could make something in the turn. The Exception, thank you very much for 4 years? Jesus. Why do I still do this? My God, man! Thank you very much for sticking with me so long. That's incredible. I did not realize I was hitting those numbers. I mean, at this point, I just feel bad because I'm not entirely sure I've been giving the the value for 4 years worth of subscriptions. And there's obviously a lot of you who
These nightmarish creatures
really
can be felled. They can be beaten.
really do very kindly support the stream in really generous ways. So thank you for that. But yeah, I don't know, like I just wanted to give that as an example of sort of gaming terminology that I see thrown around quite a bit. And while I have a general understanding of it, it's one that I also sort of say, it's like, well, but like, what do you really mean when you say that, right? It's, I don't know, it's just one of those things. And I mean, again, like, it could be that it's just a lot easier for other people to understand, and I just have sort of a defect of reason when it comes to that, but yeah, particularly, I think the RNG is the good one for me because, like, I also sort of understand frustrations with RNG because probability in general is difficult to wrap your head around. Let's get the... Oh! Hero's History of Sin is too much to bear. So because it's a topic in which I feel that it's very easy to have some misconceptions, it's probably a source of a lot of... I'd maybe even say undue frustration for like, again, I think it's one of these ones where, like, if a game developer were to sit you down and explain exactly how the game works,
Finding the stuff is only the first test.
it would
Now it must be carried home.
it would make sense, and out of the context of someone already being mad about it, they'd probably agree. But because they're already mad about it, there's no way that it can be agreed with. I guess is kind of where I'm going with this. So it just happens to be a particularly good example for me, but it's by no means the only example where sort of people have an understanding of how, or at least some of the terms used in game development. So the reason I'm doing this is to see if I can provoke the
firelight and uneasy companionship.
the Shield Breaker's sort of
Sedated.
dream sequence. I guess also one thing I haven't really been doing as often as I should. Flagellant can spread damage. Plenty of blood left to shed this day. We are favored by the gods this day. We used our last log, so that's the state of things.
As the
There
light
we go.
gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear.
Oh dang, what's this one?
As the firelight fades, ghastly memories gather their strength.
kill the protection. I think one of the things, because the sound in this game is so effective, the silence in these sequences I always find really interesting. So these things are fairly protected from blight. I think in this case, let's just go for the hard pierce. Yeah, I was really hoping to kill this one.
Unnerved, unbalanced.
Masochistic.
Those who
As I
covet
cleave my hand
injury
from my wrist, I drowned
find
in
it
transcendent
no short
joy and
supply.
freedom.
Grievous
Good lord.
injury,
This is gonna hurt.
palpable fear.
Let's keep killing the protection. Sacre bleu! We're gonna have a heart attack in a minute.
Singular strike.
Leave my flagellant alone! Well, that'll come in for one turn of bleed. He's still got protection, so... There we go.
Monstrous size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue.
A beautiful thing, 3 of 7. Such loveliness belongs in the palace, they say, and so my hands are tied, and I am put in a caravan next to to golden idols and jeweled icons. Together we were a priceless cargo of dazzling rarities, bound for the vizier's treasury. I know this tyrant's reputation, and I am afraid. Cool. So...
The great ruins belong to us, and we will find whatever secrets they hold.
Alright. Only one level 5, though. I'm a little surprised. Alright. The Ague, Unholy Hater, Unquiet Mind, and Wield Scrounger.
No rest, no peace for this wretched soul.
So we get Lyrozyder back. So by hateful curse or malign miracle, it seems that even death may be defied in this damnable place. Only one of these soldiers can be returned to the living. Okay, so let's sort by class. So this is a bit of a tricky one, right? Because, like, Chatwood's, like, ready to go. Chatwood is, a level a level 6 shield breaker. I think it's fair to say we're not going to take the Antiquarian. Lyra is a very strong plague doctor, and we currently only have one. But then we also only have one shield breaker. So the first question would be, what do I give up in order to be able to get it? And then second would be, which of the two do I want to claim? I think I'm willing to give up the Hellion.
Slumped shoulders, wild eyes, and a stumbling gait. This one is no more good to us.
And we will add Chatwood back. Right, Erasmus meditated and recovered 84 stress and is no longer irrational. Olaf II has gone on a personal vision quest to achieve enlightenment, and meditated and recovered 63 stress. Cruel underwent effective quirk treatment and removed soft. Chia underwent effective quirk treatment and removed calm, and Kaya LB has underwent effective quirk treatment and has removed nocturnal. So, I think the first thing I'm going to... Well, actually, first thing I'm going to do is check the stagecoach. I don't think there's much that's of interest to us here. Always good to check, though. Next up, I still want to do the same thing. I want to try and level up the people. So, Blangy's in good shape. I don't know if I want to bring Wissant again. One, because they're level 5, and two, because they got some problems. So we'll deal with the disease first. So the obvious question is, who do I put in place? Olaf would have been a great candidate in this case. I think what I can do, Linve is a little nerve-wracking for this. Yeah, so I guess the question would be, like, do I want the Man-at-Arms or do I want the Grave Robber a bit more? And the thing is that I would actually like to have a Grave Robber sooner rather than later. So we'll put... Yeah, maybe pick to the face... I think I could build this slightly better, but I'll live with it. By the way, Night Valiant, if you're still around, what are you streaming tonight? Okay, Chatwood. Actually, quite a few things we should get rid of. Focon. Okay, 100% of rune battles, or... Okay, so they're both rune battles, so the question is, do I want crests, or do I want deeds? And I think in this case, the life crystal... Well, sorry, it's not about the life crystal, it's about the crests. This seems to be the more sensible of my options. And again, the main cause for this is Wissant's in no condition to go on the Cove journey. I don't have enough level 5s yet, so I'd say after this Cove journey I might be able to do it, but because I'm probably going to be curing Wissant of stress, I'm probably going to need 2 journeys before we move people up to to take on the Drowned Crew. But we're definitely going to do that tonight. So, although this time we only need to bring more limited provisions.
These salt-soaked caverns are teeming with pelagic nightmares. They must be flushed out.
So this one I'm going to that other
Radiance,
room mostly
may we
just to
find
avoid
victory.
the trouble of having to go all the way back. This is a fairly straightforward dungeon, and it's a fairly straightforward mission, right? 100% of room battles try to keep the stress damage to a minimum, and get out of here and ready for the next journey. Sacre bleu! Creature is harboring something or other. The Red Plague. All right, well. We knew we weren't going to be going for the Drowned Crew next turn anyway. Crate contains stashed heirlooms.
The way is lit. The path is clear. We
So
require
Pestilent
only the
Thrall is a
strength to follow it.
pretty high priority. So let's do a little more damage. What I'll do is I'll do the Grape Shot Blast. Just ouch! That'll kill it.
A death by inches.
I dislike the I dislike the stun a bit more than the damage the Pelagic Wide Mouth does.
A momentary
Wow.
awakening.
The Occultist really pulls out some crazy heals, at least over the last couple of sessions. Almost dead.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
I wonder why I chose Shadow Fade. I think I'd probably prefer Flashing Daggers. Sack's contents are yours. Okay. Uka Crusher's always a concern, but the Pelagic Oracle can heal it. So the usual combo of... Did I not disable Shadow Fade? Like, I genuinely would want Pick to the Face in this case. Poison Darts will do the trick, but I don't quite know what happened. I'm sure I screwed up, but that's a bit of a drag, to be completely honest. I'll go for a Lucky Bleed.
Great
Nice.
is the weapon that
So it's not going to be
counts on its
healing the
own.
Crusher, so now we get to focus on the big guy.
Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
So we're already inflicting a whole bunch of Blight and Bleed. I still want to try and reduce its various resistances to the Blight and the Bleed, but next thing that I get to do now is Weakening Curse to reduce its protection. So now the Highwayman gets to focus more... I mean, it's a moot point because we're doing so much per turn. But the Highwayman now gets to focus their attacks on the things that are a little more suitable. Or would if the fight would last that long. Good God.
Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade.
Okay. Oh, I think I know what went wrong. Okay. Is that the sparkle of coin I see? The pack contains loot. Getting pretty lucky on the torches. So the Pelagic Oracle is going to be a bit of a pain here. This is because there's nothing to really hook into a sort of a back row attack. So my next best in this case is to just try and spread the love where I can. And I mean, all of this reflects choices that I've made, right? It's not like the game. It's not like the game forced me to ignore stealth. It's just I've found so far it's been reasonably effective for me to fight through the benefits that the AI gives itself, rather than the alternative of sort of equipping myself to deal with all of the different eventualities. And part of that is because I have noticed when I play Darga's Dungeon,
These nightmarish creatures
I have a bit of a
can be
weak
felled.
preference
They
for
can be beaten.
kind of creating general parties. So parties that I think are going to do an okay job with most of what they throw themselves at. So this is going to be a little more tricky than it seems. So I am going to do flashing daggers. That's just to weaken up the Oracle. The one thing I don't want to do is kill the Frothing Madman until I can at least get the bleed and probably the Abyssal Artillery in. So hopefully this kills the Oracle. Good.
Confidence surges as the
So
enemy
now we get to
crumbles.
focus down on the Frothing Madman.
Destroyed.
If I did it any other way, then I'd have to deal with the invisibility of the Oracle, and the Oracle would be healing up the Yuka Crusher. So 8 damage per turn for 3 turns is why we fear the Crusher. So I can peck to the face to go through the armor, or I could blight to get the bonus on the thrown dagger. I think I'm going to do the blight for starters because the bleed isn't as reliable. It also doesn't hurt to extend the fight a little bit, because as my bleed gets drained down, or my health gets drained down, I can probably do an exsanguinate when the time comes. So we'll hit him in the prot. Unlucky. Wow. Okay.
The will to fight falters.
Does it? I'm not quite sure that's the right line for what just happened there. Okay, so down to 16. I could probably get a fair amount in terms of the health, but in this case, I think the Wicked Slice will do the trick.
Quakes.
Yeah, he's gonna die.
Success so clearly in view.
Evil
Or is
force
it
engulfs the
merely a
hero.
trick of the light.
So we don't have any camp. Clearly have at least one more fight to go. 2 more fights to go. So same pattern as last time. I want to try and inflict as much damage as I can before killing the Madman. But of course, if we wait too long on the Madman, then they get to do some extra damage to us. I'll try the Grape Shot Blast. Okay. The hope was maybe the Abyssal Artillery would wipe them out, but clearly that didn't happen.
Well struck.
Okay. We still need to deal with the Madman, but we'll get through. But yeah, I was talking about generalist teams. So part of this is just laziness on my part. So there's something appealing about
Unnerved.
having
Unbalanced.
a team that I sort of feel is in a good place to deal with whatever comes up.
As
This is a little
life
scary.
ebbs, terrible vistas of emptiness reveal themselves.
Another beastly heal. I guess it's because of the trinkets that I've equipped. They probably would have died to the bleed, but I'm getting I'm on tilt from the frothing madman. But yeah, part of it is just I realize my laziness with regards to like the particulars of the environments. I think it's if a game like gives me an encyclopedia inside of it, I can sort of build a team. I can sort of build a team for like whatever I'm up against. If I need to remember it, I tend not to think very carefully about it unless it like really makes the difference between a win or a loss. So in the case of Darkest
mount, so too will resistance.
In the case of Darkest Dungeon, like one of the things that the tooltips in the loading menus will tell you will be something like, oh, the fish, fish people have scales and so they're more resistant to bleed. And if you take a look at their stats, like the game doesn't really hide any stats from you. I don't think it really tells you what the abilities do. You kind of have to see, like it gives you a bit of a hint. It'll sort of say the ones that'll create some stress and some healing. I think you have to see them use it before it'll give you that information. But like in terms of just overall stats as far as like dodge and health and so on, the game doesn't really hide that from you. But it doesn't give it to you in a you're loading out your team, and this is the environment you're going into. You kind of have to remember that. And I don't know if that's a conscious decision or if that's just kind of how the game turned out, because you'll notice that there are... I don't know if this is in from the start, but in the game, it does actually take some time to advise you of actions you've taken before. So, for instance, you don't need to memorize what worked and what didn't with the curios. With the curios, the game will give you little icons down below, and it'll say, this didn't work, or this gave you money, or, this cured stress damage, that sort of stuff. So, again, I'm not quite sure how to read it, for lack of a better term. If this is just sort of Red Hook saying, you will gain a feeling for what characters work well in the, in the Cove versus the, versus the Ruins. Certainly, like, you have a bunch of different traits for your characters, but this is actually, I'd argue this is actually a common problem in these kinds of games, like XCOM and the Geoscape. I don't dislike the Geoscape. It's not like, oh dear, I really wish this game like didn't include the base component. But clearly to me, like, the heart and soul of XCOM is in the tactical game. And it's what I think about and it's what I describe to people. I think XCOM and Darkest Dungeon are probably examples of this being done as well as it can be, because like nobody really talks about the Hamlet management system as a highlight of Darkest Dungeon. Everybody talks about the dungeon crawling, which is exactly where the focus should be. But even though my individual heroes will have things like, Ruins Phobe or something like that, I never once look at those traits when building a group of people. Usually what I'm thinking about when I'm building a team is, who do I want to level up? Is this going to be a boss fight? Is this going to be like a long haul? Do I think I need a healer? Those sorts of things. And that just kind of reflects the fact that I probably want to spend enough time in the Hamlet to put me in a position where I can do all right in the dungeons, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of time like really thinking about my crew. And you can see that didn't serve me well when it came to the Countess. I actually still think I didn't bring that good of a team. I sort of thought the dodge might be an interesting way of handling some of the Countess's attacks with the Man-at-Arms, but it seems like I really could only apply that buff once. The Man-at-Arms really didn't do as much as I was thinking they would. So maybe I could have avoided a few deaths if I brought somebody who did more damage over time, for instance. But that I don't know if this is a statement about Darkest Dungeon as a game or maybe me as a player of Darkest Dungeon. But I do tend to notice, like, in games that sort of have the two layers, this comes up every once in a while. So, like, it took me a very long time to get into Total War, and then eventually I got a handle on the tactical battles, but I'm still, like, iffy on the strategy side. Like, I understand why it's necessary, because you want to have those broader strategic choices that are going to be informing the kinds of battles that you wind up fighting. Obviously, your ability to get troops where you need them and to be able to, fight, or potentially set the conditions that are favorable for you in those fights. I mean, that's in Sun Tzu. That's, the sorts of things that are informing the design of those games. The historical material is going to say that. But I've always personally found, like, the strategic layer to a lot of Total War games to be kind of hit or miss. But anyways, that's just a really long way of saying that I don't put as much attention into the team building and the trinkets and all of that as I should, because in the end I like the acquisition of trinkets in the form of the dungeon crawl, but I don't really like gaming out, like, the min and max of the various benefits and drawbacks of artifacts. But anyways, that was a longer rant than it needed to be. Sorry, I'm just gonna have a sip of coffee and we'll be good to go. Also, I've been fidgeting with my blanket. I'm just gonna take a second here to properly get it. There we go.
A handsome reward for a task well performed.
I hate these guys so much. If it lasts that many rounds. Okay, it's dead. Might do a heal. Nope, going for the stress. I should have done. Oh well. Okay, definitely want the tapestry.
At least promises success.
Probably killing the Jade, but oh no, Citrine first. Oh, here's a gaming. So again, please don't feel I definitely need to get rid of this. This isn't. I don't want to, like, make people talk if they don't want to. I'm curious if anybody has any opinions about the Steam Deck.
Knowing uncertainty, the birthplace of dread.
It's not a product that I'm necessarily very interested in, but I also feel like it's something that a lot of people are very excited about. Probably should have done the flashing daggers, now that I think of it. Oh no, we got what we needed. Okay, so if we can avoid the arterial pinch, so much the better, and we did. So I want to get some of the prot down before I do the main attacks. Thank goodness. One more on the open vein. That sets up the flagellant for a hit.
A decisive pummeling.
19 damage. Yeah, so whatever we do, it's toast.
A singular strike.
That one was so that I can get an occultist with a heal. And I inflicted bleed. So they give him back and bleed.
The greater the glory.
Okay, definitely want to take the ruby. Oh, we still have another fight. Seems like a rather vicious,
Mind that such missteps are the exception, and not the rule.
vicious little dungeon. Can't say it's piqued your interest much. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about who. So one of the things I find kind of funny is that I actually think the Switch is a really attractive console. It's one I would be interested in getting when, you know, I sort of pay off the last little bit of my, I'll just call it the student loan money. But I, like, I think one of the things about the Switch for me is that it also has this component of, I don't like that I'm spreading out the damage like this, but like there's the element of like the exclusives for it, right? Like obviously Nintendo's kind of got its stable of games, you know, one of which is of course you know, a Brace Yourself Games title on it, so you know, I'm doubly interested. Also, something has really compelled me to learn and get better at Super Smash Brothers. But like, I think especially for me, because I'm not on the go that much, and if I were to be on the go, I can't think of a lot of situations where I would necessarily want to be gaming in those moments. It makes it a little bit harder for me to justify the existence of a Steam Deck. But then, like, that's the thing. I suspect, you know, Valve's first response is going to be, well, yeah, like, it's definitely not for you, but you are something of a unique case in, you know, among gamers. But I have been trying to get a little bit, like, this is, I think one of the common things that I always run into for myself is just trying to get a sense of I don't know, like the median gamer, I guess, for lack of a better term. Because again, like, the more I think of it, the more I realize I don't know anything about gaming. You know, I would consider, like, Among Us to be a known quantity. That, you know, so many, you know, like, everybody who's going to have played Among Us has played Among us, and yet that game still, so far as I can tell, sells quite well.
Of skill and purpose.
I think what I'm going to do here is we'll empty the pack of food. These are 25 each, so this is also worth more.
At last, wholesome marine life can flourish. If indeed there is such a thing.
When I talk to friends who are, like, not just like gaming adjacent, they would consider themselves gamers. They'll talk a lot about Valorant, but they will not have heard of Crypt of the Necrodancer or Braid or Subnautica. I'm just trying to think of, like, some indies that would, you know, kind of be ones. They don't know who Fail Better Games are. Actually, I had a game developer who hadn't heard who Fail Better Games was, and I was sort of like, oh wow, I thought, like, Sunless Sea was, like, a really influential, you like indie. But yeah, not at all familiar with it. And like, don't get me like, it's a successful game developer. Like, I was at their studio, doing something. It was a broadcast I needed to do. When's the system? Oh man, Olaf. Okay. I'm gonna break a rule on. So here's the thing. I don't normally like talking about what I'm gonna be doing in future, because if something happens to change that view, or I wind up sidetracked, or otherwise it winds up being later, I can only see it being a disappointment for people. Because there's been a lot of stuff that I've wanted. Actually, so I'll give you a couple of examples. I have been sitting on an article on NFTs that I'd still like to write, but like obviously people are just talking about them a lot less. And I still think there's some value in the article, but like the time has sort of passed for that. So if I'd sort of said, oh, there's going to be an article on NFTs, I mean, I think a lot of people would roll their eyes and like, oh God, not you too. And I'm like, I think I have something original to say about it. But yeah, so like the big thing is that I can only see people becoming disappointed by me talking about what stuff's coming up. But I really, really do want to talk about some of the stuff that I want to do. So breaking that rule, I have something very specific in mind about Subnautica. It's actually Subnautica and another game. And I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I very much have the intention of talking about, of not just like doing Subnautica, but specifically talking about some things about Subnautica I haven't heard other people talk about. I think it's understood about Subnautica that this is inside of it, but I've never heard it said explicitly, and I'd specifically like to contrast it with another game, which I don't necessarily think I don't think people naturally compare the two, but I actually think they present interesting contrasts. So again, I don't know when it's going to happen. I've never actually completed Subnautica. I've gotten to a certain point. I've gotten a little lost, so I'm not 100% sure how that run's going to go. But I would very much like to. I would very much like to do Subnautica, and I very much have plans for that. So. Please don't hold me to it. I mean, if anything else, from Vermintide alone, you know that my ability to follow through on commitments is somewhat doubtful. But much like my efforts to try and say when I'm going to start streaming, a 5 to 7 year timeline. Excellent. Yeah, much like my my estimates for when I start streaming. It is not out of malice that I fail to deliver on these things. It reflects a genuine effort and estimation that just happens to terribly reflect reality as it plays out. Okay, how many 5s did I get? Not as many as I was hoping, and we've got a lot of disease. So I have a feeling that I'm gonna be waiting a bit before we can.
Curiosity, interest, and obsession. Mile markers on my road to damnation.
All right, so I got a few ideas about how this is gonna turn out. So, crystalline foci, gazing deep into the shimmering colors of the comet fractures, can bring a sense of peace. Oh, I really didn't. Damn it! I thought I was like buying. No, that's fair. Okay, no, I get. I wish they kind of communicated that a little bit better, because I was under the impression I was getting something different, but That's fine. I'll just get the shards through other means. Okay, as always, we're going to check out the stagecoach. I don't think there's anything there for me to... I don't really think there's anything there for me to get too excited about. Let's cure some disease. So... no worries, no tapeworm. No plague. So I mean, given that I just cured a whole bunch of stress, I guess we can put Linvei in the team. Wisant, I'm gonna cure. Give me something that will burn my throat. Okay. So I could try going under strength. Yeah. Huh. I don't think that's wise. Olaf's still on their vision quest. And I could do a run on the farmstead, but the challenge with that is that's not going to pass time as far as like getting everything done. Can't rush enlightenment. So I mean, I could try and send a group of people after the Garden Guardian. We could also just try a level of the Darkest Dungeon to see what it's like. I hope I'm not doing something stupid. I think I'm going to do some treatment as well. So Chatwood... I think I can handle the Ruins Phobe at this time, so... Okay, So it does have campfire, so... Probably a little overkill, but I don't know what we're up against, so. Yeah, I really have not been.
The very grounds themselves are animated by a deep-rooted evil. A cosmic hatred for all that thrive beyond its tainted grasp.
I've really not been taking care of my people.
Glittering gold.
Darn it,
trinkets and
Fankenbeard
baubles,
Fender.
paid for in blood.
Menacing mists rise eerily from the marsh, eager to confuse hapless travelers. Man, that's an interesting barrier. Bones offer no further clues or loot. Okay, first fight coming up, I think. Ooh. This is weirdly easy for what I was expecting. How you doing, Despair?
Obliterated.
I may want to change from Come Hither, but... Oh, come on!
Decimated.
So I guess the Musketeer can't hit them anymore.
Masterfully executed. Destroyed.
So yeah, I mean,
A trifling
I said it was
victory,
weirdly easy, but
a victory nonetheless.
it's not. That wasn't exactly a walk in the park. Okay. This is the drawback about bringing so much stuff. And it's all good stuff. Oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling so well.
Packs laden with loot are often
I
low
don't
on supplies.
know if you saw Despair Embodied, but we actually got the Countess. We're moving on to the Guardian. So my guess would be the Guardian's here, but we don't really have any evidence to say that that's the case. Alright, well, we've got the laudanum.
This returns even the boldest gaze.
Oof. Forgot to give him the laudanum.
A powerful blow.
So I want to see if I can sneak in some heals in the tail end of this fight. Good.
Monstrous size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue.
Well struck.
So I kind of need the protection removal for the... Well,
Festering fear consumes the mind. The ground quakes. A victory. Perhaps the turning point.
okay, so let's try food. I think I'm gonna hang on to the rest.
The Hamlet cannot stand
What?
this thing that should not be. Defeat it. Claim the prize it guards.
This is bananas. So I'm assuming this thing does the damage. Oh man, this thing is nuts. I was expecting something like the, you know, like the other Crimson Court content. Like I wasn't expecting I wasn't expecting this. God, this... Oh God.
A decisive pummeling.
Like, I should be buffing everyone. Okay, now I'm feeling nervous. How many of you have seen a movie called Michael Clayton? The only reason I ask is there's a rather unsavory company in that film, and one of their advertisements says "Feed the soil,"
Exposed
and just
to a
seeing
killing blow.
seeing that on the blood fount made me think of the movie. It's actually a very good movie, starring George Clooney. Actually, weirdly enough, almost everyone who is in the Coen Brothers movie Burn After Reading is in it for some reason.
A time to perform beyond one's limits.
But yeah, it's Tom Wilkinson, George Clooney, Tilda Swinton, Sidney Pollack. I think that's it. I'm gonna see if I can get a mark on the Guardian while he's protected. God damn it. I want to heal the bounty hunter, but I know it's better to maximize the damage we do. Well, try to maximize the damage we do. Feeling a little nervous about my bounty hunter, I'm not gonna lie. I think the big problem right now is we're just not doing enough damage. We're not doing enough damage relative to how they're dishing it out to us. Okay, out of bandages.
A brilliant confluence of skill and purpose.
Injury and despondence set the stage for heroism or cowardice.
Oof. I am going to need to start thinking about some self-heal soon, but let's make the most of the opportunities. I have a chance to kill this shield, so I'm going to take it.
As the fiend falls,
Okay.
a faint hope blossoms.
I kind of want to see what changes in the fight. Hatred beyond time. Oh my god. Oh no!
Teetering on the brink, facing the abyss.
I think we should try running. I don't think there's any benefit to me throwing away... I don't think there's any benefit to me throwing away level 6s. So now that I know what I'm up against in the fight... No!
Only when escape is impossible. The walls close in. The shadows whisper of conspiracy.
Great adversity has a beauty. It is the fire that tempers.
Yeah, so... I'm not opposed to doing that Guardian again, but I'm not. I'll admit I'm not 100% sure
There is a great horror.
why
beneath
it's
them.
there.
A crawling chaos that must be destroyed.
Okay. But we probably have a crew ready to go for the drowned crew now. So, first of all, pick who's going. So, Wissant in position 1. Aslian in position 4. An occultist and a vestal is not exactly the combo that I would want to bring, but I don't have a whole lot else in terms of options. So we'll do our best with what we've got there. And then finally, we will cure a few quirks. Okay, let's see how we do. I did spend a lot of money, but I also have a lot of money, so I think I'm gonna over-prepare again. Maybe I won't go for the buffs here.
While the greedy dogs slept off their revelry, I hexed their anchor with every twisted incantation I could muster, imbuing it with the weight of my ambition and my contempt for their crude extortion. At the witching hour, the anchor pulled with preternatural force, dragging craft and crew down into the depths. They must have cried out, but no sound escaped the swirling black waters.
So,
The poor devils, chained and drowning for eternity.
this is not exactly like the Guardian fight that I just came out of, but this is still somewhat exploratory for me. Is that the sparkle of coin I see? So basically, it's been a very long time since I've had to do one of these encounters, and part of the fun of this, of course, is to see like what I'm up against. But it does also carry the risk that I've brought a party that's really not equipped
As the light
to
gains
take them
purchase,
on.
spirits are lifted.
So we'll do our best with what we've been
Purpose is
given.
made clear.
Oof, this is going to be a tough one. So I really can't do anything but take out the thrall. Although that stun gives me some time.
continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
This is only because I was able to stun the Thrall. No way! Oh my god, we're dead.
A decisive pummeling.
So the best I can hope for is to bleed them out next turn. 9 damage, 4 and 2. Oh, so close. Be judged. Yeah, if he blows up, we're in really big trouble. So as much as I want to heal this unit, I need to kill the Pelagic Champion.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
Woo! Okay.
As victories mount, so too will resistance.
That was way too close for comfort. We're gonna need to find an opportunity to heal the Highwaymen at some point. But...
Cruel machinations spring to life with a singular purpose.
thing to remember is if I go to sleep, I'm likely gonna have a... I'm probably gonna have a shield breaker memory.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
I'm not quite ready to abandon the firewood, but it's definitely a risky proposition.
Destroy.
All right, that was easy. Let's try and go for the Dazzling Light. There's not much I can do to the Pelagic Tidemaster right now.
Masterfully executed.
Yeah, it's not a surprise they're healing, but that's the one I would want them to get healed. Hey, Index Gnome, how you doing? Okay, let's get some healing down.
As the fiend falls,
I don't like this because it's likely going to mean that the Pelagic Tidemaster gets protected by the champion, but I'll get my ducks in a row by taking down the protection. Might have been better to just go straight for the Tidemaster, yeah. Oh well. We'll do another protection reduction because they do get a buff when they do that. And I think I will go for the bleed.
powerful blow.
Yeah, so that's another 6 damage a turn that we're doing, so...
Compassion
Try and
is a
get the team
rarity
back.
in the fevered pitch of battle.
Back in shape. No, it's better to go straight for him.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
If I seem a little more hesitant It's because I'm recognizing a lot of the choices I'm making right now are going to determine how prepared I am going up against the boss, assuming that we're on the right path to the boss.
Annihilated.
So I want to be a little more thoughtful than I normally am
Foolish
in my
horrors.
approaches.
Brought low and driven into the mud.
Okay. Sadly, we don't get to see down here, but we do know there's one more fight in the room with the treasure, so. Booty. Oh, that's good. But what do I give up for it? We're committed now. I don't think there's anything for me to really get from exploring that. Okay, let's see what we're up against. If it's another thrall, I'm gonna be sad. Oh, sorry, it's the next room. I was very confused for a moment. So I'm just passing these ones by because they tend to produce disease, and I don't exactly need more food right now. If I need to go to the other side, it's possible I may be short. Oh, man. We should be able to make this work, but this is a bit of a tougher needle to thread. Be judged! Oh, come on!
The blood pumps. The limbs obey.
Did Stuart Chatwood do do the maddening shanty?
Impressive.
I think piling on the Pelagic Champion's probably the way I want to handle this.
The abyss returns even the boldest gaze.
I do eventually want to do some party heals, but for now,
Well struck.
I want to join in the offense. Okay, they're down. So this gives me a little extra time to go after the Squiffy Ghast until we get the Pelagic Piranha open. I could, of course, try a weird reconstruction, but there's other things that we can do right now.
The ground quakes.
The Vestal's the better one to kind of focus heals on because their offensive abilities aren't quite as dramatic. Alright, well, gets everybody back into formation.
Inches.
Okay, so dedicated heal on V first. Ah! Actually, as it is, let's try our chances. I was hopeful. Yeah, so then party heals afterwards. I might get lucky with the vulnerability hacks. do and no, I'll pierce. Oof. It's because I got a grape shot blast available with V.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
So it was going to be party heals, but V's the one sort of lagging in health again, so... could have been better, but...
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
And we don't know if we're going up against the boss, but we will assume that this room has the drowned crew. If it doesn't,
In
we
Radiance,
might check
may
out
we
these
find
fish.
victory.
Ooh, Yuka Savage is going to be a tough one. So let's start with a Dazzling Light. You never know. Like, okay, yeah, that's a lucky stun there. We can't really do much about the Pelagic Tide Master, but we can put the hurt on the Yuka Savage. And in this case, we're not going to do anything fancy with Blight. We're just going to reduce the protection. We're going to do as much damage as we can, because if they get an arterial pinch off, then that's basically our healing spoken for the next. Well, actually, sorry, we've got bandages. So, but still, I wanna get this thing taken out pretty quickly, especially now that it's buffed. I don't think the Dazzling Light's gonna do what I need, so we'll go for a good old-fashioned Judgment. And then the question is, do I go for the extra bleed, or do I go for a Wicked Slice and hope for a crit? The bleed's not gonna take it out this turn, but a crit might. Okay, well... Nice. So they're not quite dead yet, but this is one of these times I will do the... Actually, you know what? I'm gonna risk it. So an Open Vein should be sufficient. So that's gonna free me up for a group heal and something on the Tidebringer.
Slow death. Unforeseen. Unforgiving.
Oh, come on. I could have drawn it out a little bit, but I do want those crests.
Push on to the task's end.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
Crests are going to be what gives me the red hook.
Even in death, the captain shouts his orders, and the crew obeys.
Okay, so let's just take a second to see what we're dealing with. So this doesn't have any protection, so the shield breaker wasn't much of an addition. Boarding clutch seems to impose bleed. Heave ho. I seem to recall this one. I think they attach like the anchor and it heals the drowned crew. I think. Anyways, this is kind of weak to blight, so I'm going to start with something to impose blight. Let's also try and get lucky with a stun.
The way is lit. The path is clear.
We require only the strength to follow it.
Doesn't really make a lot of sense to try and do a bleed here. I think we'll just hit it as hard as we can. Okay, not quite clear what that did. Okay, lower damage. Okay, I was hoping to do a forward move on that, but in this case we'll just do Impale again and inflict further blight.
defeated.
It's definitely a smart, like... Oh. Yep. Okay, that's a much more serious attack than I... So the really tough part here is that because of the mutiny, my biggest damage dealer is pretty impotent right now. So I can at least get the dodge down. Okay. Not my favorite moment. We've got a whole bunch that we need, a whole bunch of stuff that we need to recover, but we should be able to do some decent damage. This is a tough one. It's my inability to damage the Anchorman that's the real killer. It's like at least 24 damage, if not more. Ooh.
Anger is power. Unleash it.
Okay, that was unexpected. Let's try and go for a good heal. Oh, hang on. I've been kind of goofy about some of my choices here. So I'm gonna move the Vestal back. Really want to see my first two. Yes, so I should have used medicinal herbs so much sooner. Still not sure if this is the right call, but... Okay. So a dazzling light might get me a little extra time to do some hurt. Nope. I'm actually kind of okay with Aslian getting hit by the anchor. So lower their dodge. I don't think we're going to be able to fight through the. I don't think we're going to be able to fight through the heal. But at the very least, my main damage dealers are going to be enabled for this attack.
Eradicated.
Yeah. Now would not. Nah, gotta make decisive choices. So. Oof. Okay, that's a mutiny I can deal with. I mean, the reduction to crit might mean that there's a bit less for me healing-wise. I think probably an early attack on the Drowned Anchorman's the right call here. So here, I would like to heal the Occultist, but if I can get a stun... Okay. Okay, so it's guaranteed at least 8 health at the start. That's a tough one to deal with. Close, but we need more. I'm gonna do weird reconstruction. I need a little more. So I think we can see this through to the end, but I can also see me sort of losing the marathon here. So I want to be careful. I actually think Judgment's the right call here because I don't have anything to do with the... I don't have anything to help this heal. It's not the best self-heal, but at the very least it's contributing something to the fight. So... having the position, like getting out of position is definitely a tough one for me here. I think we should just pile on the Drowned Anchorman. Good. It also saved us a little bit from any potential stress events. So let's see if we can make... Let's try and make something of this turn here. My Vestal still needs... Oof. My Vestal needs 1 turn to get into position. Oh, God. Stay the course on the strategy. Let's prep with a heal on the Shield Breaker. Good. Fortune smirks. So I was kind of hoping to be able to use the pistol shot. Oh, okay. We may still be able to. Damn it. So that's obviously to stop them from healing. Okay, so I'm going to do Divine Comfort here just because we're really not making the progress that I kind of need here. So, Abyssal Artillery. I'm going to use my 2 damage dealers to hit the Anchorman. Good. Okay. I'm not crazy about the disruption to the formation, but there's a couple things we can do with this. So this is partly to put the mark on. Because now I can pistol... Oh, that's right. I can't pistol shot position 1. Alright. I just need a slightly different order of the turns. Good. Okay, so now we get a turn dedicated to the drowned crew. There's a couple of variations I want to try here, but I don't want to get so exotic that I that I cause myself future grief. And I'd love to do a judgment, but let's get the party nice and healed up so I can afford to make some more reckless decisions. The biggest thing that's going to be affecting me right now is if I let this go too long, then the stress is going to become unmanageable. Okay, good. So this is going to free up the highwaymen to do a pistol shot on the marked target. And we're actually going to double check that by applying the mark for a couple more turns. I mean, that's nothing to write home about, but it's better than nothing. And because we don't need the I mean, maybe on the occultist, but we can afford a little extra judgment. In this case, just a little extra chip. That, if you think about it, the Vestal being able to do that is another turn where they're not able to. It's another turn where they're not able, or where it kind of cancels the heal from the Drowned Anchorman. But again, we don't want the Drowned Anchorman to do any damage, so we're going to continue on. And I'll try and get lucky with the vulnerability hex. So... not great. So I would have preferred to do the Grape Shot Blast, but sadly I'm not in the right position for it. I think we're just going to have to accept. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Blue. Yeah, the alligator definitely gave me a run for my money the first time. It's been a while since I've had to do one of these drowned crew fights, so I'm definitely learning the fight as I'm going, but I'm glad you're finding it helpful. The one thing that I like to say about Darkest Dungeon is that it has a reputation for being merciless, and that's definitely true on the tactical level that we're in right now. But unless you're playing on Stygian mode, there's like really no way to lose the game. It's almost a bit like Dark Souls in that sense, where like you know, it's basically your willingness or unwillingness to move forward that that'll decide, whether or not you see it through the end. I actually got to talk with someone who worked on this, and apparently very few people actually complete this game. But it of course doesn't mean that the time was spent wasn't tremendously enjoyable. But I'm like, this is me coming back after a long time, and I'm just having the time of my life with it now. Like, I really feel like I kind of cracked some of my walls. Now, I've been part of the reasons why I'm spending the time on this chat is I'm trying to make a decision here, and I think what I'm going to do here, instead of moving forward, I'm going to take the pistol shot, and even though it's not taking the advantage of the bonus damage versus mark, at the very least it's doing damage, so I can consider that to be taking a turn away from the healing that's going to be happening from the drowned anchorman. And then I believe because the shield breaker's in position 1, I'm actually going to be able to do that impale and put the ticking blight damage on the drowned crew. So yes, I'm giving up the 8 heal from the anchor attack, but they're giving some of that back by letting me attack them, and that wouldn't happen if I just used the Highwayman's turn for a move. So let's see how much damage we do. So the net amount is going to be 2 after they hit us with the anchor. Ho ho! Denied. Okay, so I don't get to do the blight anymore, but that's a lot of fun. Okay, I'm gonna tempt fate and actually go for the face. I need someone to do the damage to the drowned anchorman, but the occultist might be able to do 2 damage through the one of their debuffs. The day is mine. Okay, so normally I would heal the occultist here, but there's 17 damage left, so every little bit of chip damage that we can do brings us closer to ending the fight. And again, doesn't matter if you're at 0 health, as long as you don't die, you get your health back at the end of the fight. So in this case, we're going to ignore the anchorman. It's just straight punches to the face here.
Finally, a sailor's death for captain and crew.
All right. That was fun. My favorites are definitely the ones where I need to figure them out in the moment, and we're able to crack it. So, return to the hamlet. Thank you, Olaf. It's very kind. Oh, achievement unlocked. Driven from this land. I'm going to take a minute to see what that is. I still haven't gotten my donut yet. So I think I might take a very brief break just to put the kettle on, give me some tea, and get my sugary nonsense. But now everybody better be 6 by the end of this. Yeah, there we go. Look at those numbers. So Bournville has become robust. Aislian has nymphomania. And B is ascetic. How many travelers died? Sorry, I may be missing the reference. And what did you mean by how many travelers died?
Finally, the serum is working, and the side effects are manageable.
The time and gold were not spent in vain. However, as today caregivers announced, they have succeeded in concocting an effective antidote. So, if I recall correctly, we actually have a lot of disease. Frankenvinder is experiencing double vision after a long night of drinking. Frankenvinder has had a night on the town, recovered 63 stress, and is no longer paranoid. Fortier blacked out and misplaced a trinket, the healing armlet. Ooh. Okay. Fortier had a night on the town, recovered 70 stress. Kaya LB had a night on the town and recovered 70 stress. And Liborg meditated and recovered 77 stress. We cleared the quirks. Alright. So let's get those diseases handled first. Black Plague. Cured. Oh, did we cure everyone before? I'm an idiot. Alright, Wissant, you've earned some gambling. V, you're ascetic, so you're probably going to want to go to the church. Burnville will not take part in prayer. Oh, warriors! Yeah. Alright. So Brond was the first to fall in week 6. Bled out, followed by Reynold. Adventurer Crusader was slain by a vile bone soldier 5 weeks later. Jaime fell to the Crocodilian. I believe so did Valken. Captain Zerge starved out from blood. Gand succumbed to blight along with Danvers. Johnny Big Time fell to the hand of an ally. Johnny Big Time, by the way, is a streamer I'm quite fond of. He may actually be streaming right now. I'll say the streamer by name if I like them, and then if I'm saying like unkind things, I won't say who the streamer is. Ed Baver also died to the Crocodilian. El Dolby bled out. Cangrius died to stress, as did Veshi, Kali, Rusal, Mandeville, Matravers, Guillot. We had a little bit of a break, and Mowbray then died out, and then we had another stress week where Ego, Karen, Casual, Nothing, Mojo Storm, Tall Woman Alive, all died to stress. Kite 260 met their end at the hands of a Bone Commander, followed by Scream and Plagus XM having a heart attack due to stress. You're noticing a theme here, right? Then 60 weeks before we had any casualties, Cecilia bled out. Ren was slain by a gatekeeper. Bernier was slain by the Collector. Drew was succumbed to blight, along with Daryl, who died to stress, and McRae. Also to stress, Cardinal fell to stress. Sin fell to a sycophant. Clark bled out. Collier, our legendary musketeer, fell to a chevalier. JFC Fuller died to a brigand raider. This is I don't know if you've got it, but there's an event where the hamlet gets raided by bandits. Dismas also died to a brigand raider. Pistris fell to blight. Crevecoeur at their end against a fanatic. Tulas against a bone sergeant. Then we had a bunch of stress. Modit and Mudicent to stress. Plagus XM, the second, met their end against a gibbering prophet. By the way, if any of you want a character named after you, just let me know, and I'm happy to change the names. More stress. Montfiquet and Bertrand both died to stress. Grimaud died to met their end against an Esquire. Then we had our first run against the Countess. So Red Hulk, Corbon, Sungif, and Ed Baver III all fell to the Countess, either due to stress or the Countess herself. Anchuil, stress again. Rathgaber died to a Fusilier. Fourneau fell to a stress, and Pansful fell to stress. I think this was my effort to try... No, I guess maybe that was against the canon. I can't remember. Savagini fell to stress along with Olaf the First. Mathan died to a pelagic champion. Lyra died to the formless flesh. I wasn't expecting that one. Fitzhugh also died to the Countess along with True Asgoth. That feels wrong. Didn't we have 3 people? I could have sworn we had 3 people die to the Countess. So what happened to the third? That's weird. We're gonna have to remember. Anyways, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 49, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, and then I believe we've had 2 resurrected. So I'd say 62 have fallen in the name of restoring the hamlet. Sorry for those of you who didn't want the whole story, but I like detail. So, in terms of overall goals, like we were talking about...
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Sorry, I was going to see... Yeah, driven from this land. So kill all bosses. So for me, how much? So let me put it to you this way, Mr. Bill. We're gonna do some more Darkest Dungeon. I may take a small break just to get the, just to put on some tea and such. How much would you like to know? Because sometimes for me, like, discovering some stuff is fun to see. But if you'd like to know, I can tell you exactly what happened. If that's something you'd like to discover through your own playing of the game, I totally understand. I want to give you the option to sort of say, yeah, tell me what it is, and if you don't, that's cool too. So I don't know if it will tell you on the map. Let me see if I can get an example of this. Okay, so you see how every once in a while you'll have an event that says, like, town event Sunshine in the Thicket? Or like what I ran into here, where we had that serum and we get, like, free medical treatment. Oh yeah, I should actually... oh no, I don't have anybody else who's got a disease. So not all of the events are ones that... Like, it's not always determinate. It's not always going to be something where you'll go to a dungeon and the event will be like, you get free food or anything like that. Sometimes it's going to be something that randomly happens in the hamlet. And every once in a while there's an event, you'll see the graveyard glowing, and it will tell you that you can resurrect a hero. Generally you get a pick out of 3. It'll pick 3 at random, although it does, at least for me, it seemed to kind of skew to the higher level characters. So for instance, this stream, actually, if you want to see the event itself, you can check the VOD for this episode, because Chatwood was dead, and they are not dead any longer. I'm sure you've noticed. So I don't think there's any way that you can control when it happens, but effectively the way that it works in the game is that every once in a while there will be a news event like this, and you'll see 3 characters. And then when you close the menu, you'll sort of see that the graveyard is glowing. And it doesn't really explain how they come back from the dead. It just simply lets you know that that's what happens. So that's... I realize that doesn't sound very detailed, but it's because so far as I can tell, you can't actually do something specifically to trigger a resurrection. It's just more something that the game will throw at you over the course of playing. Okay. I did say that once we went through the bosses, I was gonna make a run on the Darkest Dungeon. So the other thing that might help you, I don't know if you know this, but on the stagecoach. So one of the things that I've noticed keeps people from going back to the game is they... Oh, thank you very much for the follow. So what tends to happen is some people will say, I was really liking Darkest Dungeon, and I don't really mind, like, the challenge of the battles, but it's a real drag to, like, have some of my high tier characters die and then have to kind of grind my way back to restoring them. So one way you can sort of mitigate that is the experienced recruits improvement for the stagecoach. So basically, the first level you get Resolve level 1, second level you get Resolve level 2, third level you get Resolve level 3. So in this case here, what I've tended to do, so Vitalis is level 2. So every once in a while I'll send Vitalis out on a mission to try and raise their level. But if instead of a veteran occultist I'd gotten a veteran grave robber, I would have, booted out the level 2 one and replaced it with a level 3. And that's a way you can kind of get halfway to your top level. It's not great. I mean, I think some people still dislike the idea of going from like level 3 to level 6. But I don't know, for me I kind of like I just like the game. I don't actually mind going through dungeons. So, having to level up characters is just a chance to, have more fights, which I don't think is a bad thing. But I think, yeah, I did say once I got all the bosses done, I do want to try messing around with the farmstead and the courtyard and all that. But I think the time has come for us to hit the Darkest Dungeon. And I know I filibustered a little bit, but I think I'm going to take a minute to get some tea and some sugary goodness, and this will be my very first time doing the Darkest Dungeon itself. So I am going to put up my away screen. It's not going to be more than like a couple minutes, but I will try running ads, especially because so many of you are subbed. If you are not subbed, and if you do wind up seeing those ads, please maybe get up and get a glass of water and stretch, or otherwise don't see what Twitch wants you to see. But I'll be back in a little bit just so I can get myself prepped and we can go straight through to the end for the rest of the stream. So see you all in a minute. Okay, really sorry about the time that took. I was actually just thinking there might be something kind of neat to show you before we go on this, because I have a suspicion about what this mission's going to be like. Oh, sorry, let me just set a timer here. So I don't know how many of you saw, I think this was the Kickstarter ad for this. Let me just see if I can find it. Yeah. So this one I think is really interesting because you can sort of see some of the really early art for this game. And like, it still looks good and it's still recognizable as Darga's Dungeon. I forgot to turn off the text, didn't I? But it also looks like it looks quite different. So let me just mute the game for a second. Again, this might be something that a lot of you are already sort of familiar with, but I kind of like this trailer, so let's give it a shot.
There is a place beneath those ancient ruins in the moor that calls out to the boldest among them. We are the flame, they cry, and darkness fears us. They descend, spurred on by fantasies of riches and redemption, to lay bare whatever blasphemous abnormality may slumber restlessly in that unholy abyss. But darkness is insidious. Terror and madness can find cracks in the sturdiest of armors, the most resolute of minds. And below, in that limitless chasm of chaos, they will realize the truth of it. We are not the flame, they will cry out. We are but moths, and we are doomed. And their screams will echo amidst the pitiless cyclopean stones of the darkest dungeon.
So, I like that trailer a lot, but a couple of things. So number one, I have a feeling, given that that mission name is called We Are the Flame, we might be running into this thing. But on top of that, the other thing I kind of like about this is, like, I'm assuming, like, this is the Man-at-Arms, and, like, the Vestal obviously doesn't have the staff anymore. The Crusader seems to be the one to have gotten the largest change. Obviously, this is also the Plague Doctor, but it's clearly a pretty substantial redesign. But if you take a look at the Highwayman in this, the Highwayman actually looks very similar to the final version. But you can kind of see, like, I would not be surprised if this was sort of a prototype version of the game that they showed people before, before it sort of took on its final form. But yeah, I think it's a great trailer. But I figured I'd take a second and explain what I think we're up against. We are the flame. We are the flame. The creature's power waxes terrible. Recover the protective relics from the long-abandoned base camp, but beware the shuffling horror. Okay, so we gotta kill a shuffling horror, and we don't really know what we're up against. So, I think the first question I want to answer is, what do I have doubles of? Okay, so put Fitzhugh in a position 2. We can put Cruel in position 1. I was actually thinking maybe Chatwood, like my shield breaker, would be a good... Sorry, T's done. Well, yeah, I do have a spare... I do have a spare shield breaker, so... So the big problem is I might be falling into the same trap of... Yeah, so we'll go for a Vestal, and then I think we'll bring Sharp along for the back row. So this might be underdoing it for healing, but... Okay, so there's a couple things I'm going to do for prep. Because again, like, it's first trip to the Darkest Dungeon, we don't really know what we're up against. First thing I want to do here is anybody who's level 6 and isn't at like perfect stress, we're gonna, well, I think maybe 2 is my limit. Following that, I'm gonna start clearing quirks again, because again, we're making ridiculous amounts of cash every time we go to a dungeon. So a lot of things I want to get rid of, but I think Fear of Unholy is probably a good one to start with. Scattering is not a good thing for a musketeer to have. Chia... I think we can afford to get rid of the germaphobe too. Okay, so let's also make sure that we've got... Okay, so we need to equip some trinkets on people. Alright, well that's a pure benefit. Good for Blight skills, not good for Blight resist. I'm not sure I like that. Do I have a hat? I do have a hat. And it's clear I don't have... I don't have the full armament, so there we go. Everybody else is ready to go there. And how are we for skill? Oof. Okay. That was an expensive resurrection. So, Mr. Blue, just a word... it appears that resurrection does not give you the skills back, so you're going to want to have some cash set aside to recover what was lost. I am doing okay cash-wise, so this definitely doesn't hurt. In fact, let's just... I maybe won't go nuts, but I can put a couple extra... Oh, actually, this is a pretty good one to get. I can put a little extra into my crew. Okay. I could also check out the survivalist. I mean, if I'm going to do it, now is the time. Honestly, why not just unlock all of them? We are the flame. If a Darkest Dungeon quest is abandoned, not all heroes are guaranteed to survive. Someone must sacrifice themselves to hold off the fiends during retreat. What? Oh, Jesus Christ. Alright. This is definitely my kind of mission. I'm not gonna like dump all the cash into the stuff, but
Once again, the stars are right, and the manor sits at the very epicenter of cosmic unrest. Cultists rally to their twisted idols, and great gongs sound in anticipation of the coming sacrifices. Far below, life-laden shadows pulse to the unrelenting rhythm of a beating heart.
Oh man.
The blood of the fallen flows ever downward along these titan spires. The creature fattens itself on your failures.
I'm already feeling like I don't have enough. This has got to be an animated GIF and oh man, listen to the music. Alright. Let's make the magic happen. Unholy Inhuman, so...
Obliterated.
How are they on stun? Let's try a Dazzling Light. Partially just to replenish my torch as well.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Says the better crit. Also, it's taken its turn, so I'm going to make a guess here that we're able to kill it, so I'll do a Divine Comfort just to get us back up to the top level, and Sharp's going to finish it off with a Buckshot.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
Just trying to get a read on what I'm up against. It's all tough. Ooh. Rend for the New God. I love the little changes that they've been making to the... to the old models, so you can see the transformation in the Ascended Brawlers. Let's limit our damage by trying to stun the Ascended Brawler. Cool. So that gives me a little tempo.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
That sounds like a siren in the background.
The wounds of war can be...
I'm not going to use a bandage yet, because I really don't know what we're up against. I don't think this Buckshot will be enough to finish the Brawler, but let's try.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Foolish horrors.
There is no loot for any of this.
Driven into the mud.
It's just pure pure death. So I'm taking a risk not using the bandage there, but... Oh, Jesus. This is gonna have some stun consequences. Jesus. So we got to use the bandage. Yeah, so my accuracy is just not where it needs to be for the bounty hunter. I gotta deal with that. Okay, let's kill the back row as soon as we can.
Strike. A powerful blow.
Okay, fortunately they didn't pull us, so that's good. Still need to heal the bounty hunter. Okay. Getting pretty lucky.
Exposed to a killing
Well,
blow.
not anymore. So unfortunately, I think this is going to put me at death's door, but I definitely prefer killing the back row here. I do wish I had the impale.
And now the true test. Hold fast or expire.
So there's a very real danger that we're going to lose this character here. I'm going to hit the high health brawler just to do sort of the maximum damage against a human. But okay, so normally I would be using this offensively, but patch up is going to mean the difference between death's door and a dead. So
Dazed, reeling.
God, there's so much bleeding. Let's do Divine Comfort. I normally hate spreading out the healing like this, but oh my God.
Perched at the very precipice of oblivion.
So all that effort and we're still potentially dead.
More blood.
What?
Soil, feeding the evil therein.
Wow.
Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
And if we want to give up now, we have to give up
In radiance, may we find
we have to give up
victory.
an adventurer.
The light, the promise of safety.
The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it.
I don't think I'm prepared for this. I don't think we're going to do enough damage to make this work. Yeah, we're actually in a really tough spot here. Let's limit some of the damage with a stun for
The
starters.
match is struck. A blazing star is born.
I'm gonna keep going hard on the cultist priest with the intention of I forgot to cure the bleed. That's probably gonna
As
do me
life
in.
ebbs, terrible vistas of emptiness reveal themselves.
A death denied. For now.
a hand's breadth from becoming unwound.
So this is like a bit of a waste, right? Because my primary damage dealer is not dealing damage. Jesus. So I've got a top tier team, and we're struggling on the trash in the dungeon.
Death is patient. It will wait.
That's my last cure.
How quickly the tide turns.
This is very reckless here, but I have an idea.
This expedition at least promises success.
I don't know how else I'm gonna handle healing, so... So yeah, I mean, there's a really tough decision that I need to make here now. So it definitely feels like I don't have what it takes to finish this encounter. Like, just looking at the positions for everyone, right? I'm gonna have the Vestal. So Vestal's abilities are in position 4 and 3, basically. Divine Comfort is kind of helpful in position 2, but clearly this is someone who wants to be where the Musketeer is. But the catch here is that the best abilities for the Musketeer are in position 3 and 4, and they're a damage dealer, so it's unfortunate. And the problem is that it's going to take exactly one of these people to die to just destroy the party. So it's like I can accept the losses now, and basically I will lock in the loss of 2 characters, and know that I need to figure out how to deal with the horrors we find in the Darkest Dungeon. Or, I push forward and potentially risk losing 4 heroes. Now, my inclination here is to go as deep as I can, because even though all of the fights are going to be miserable, and I'm almost certainly going to lose more than I really should, there is something about gaining information about what I'm up against. To me, there is something appealing in that. I guess the way I would put it is, let's say I say it's like, okay, I'm going to pick someone to die. It's like Chatwood has already faced death. They know what it's like on the other side. So, they nobly sacrifice themselves to protect the Musketeer and the Vestal. Or I say, I've got a surplus of Musketeers, so sorry, Sharp, but, we're okay getting rid of you. The thing is that based on what I'm seeing here, like, what have I really learned? I've learned that the enemies are tough and that I need to hit harder. Well, what did I bring? I brought a bounty hunter, a shield breaker, a musketeer, and a vestal. That's not exactly like a light-hitting combo, right? So all that I'll really accomplish by giving up one of these heroes is to go in effectively blind to the to the fight next time, and it's just as likely that I'll wind up losing someone again. So that's what kind of makes me inclined to say, as brutal as this is going to be, and as likely as it is for me getting a party wipe, I need to learn something about how this dungeon works before I say it's okay to give up a hero. In a weird way, I actually find it more palatable to lose 4 heroes learning how to fight the enemies here than it is to lose 1 hero and essentially just find myself in this same situation again. Then again, like, I think you've all kind of seen me get very reckless in this game, so yeah, it's probably not a surprise. But this is brutal.
As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear.
I think here I actually need to go for the damage dealers.
Impressive.
Although the stress is gonna give me a heart attack, and that'll kill us too. So I think Buckshot just to take a piece off the board. Okay, again, lucky on the movement. This is really freaking me out here.
Grievous injury, palpable fear. Destroyed.
So if I got that crit on this back, which we probably could have taken both, but
Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle.
this is an interesting dilemma, right? Under normal circumstances, I'd want to take out the Ascended Brawler because of their damage dealing ability, but because stress is such a problem for me here, I actually need to take out the stress dealers first. But this is a situation where I might have my out, because if I'm going to lose this character to a heart attack anyway, this is an easy sacrifice to make compared to
Devastating blow.
compared to the alternative. So we'll see. Again, there's a lot that goes into these decisions. Oh, that's 18 damage that my Vestal's going to
Success
take.
so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light?
I'm mildly tempted to try camping here. Of course, we're going to have to deal with the snakes, and I don't think we have the damage output to do well against the snakes, so we'll push ahead. This is going to suck. I actually almost wish that we get into a fight before the bleed becomes too much of a problem, but okay.
Teetering on the brink, facing the abyss.
Of course, now it's the opposite. Now I don't want to get into a fight. On the chance that this is... Nope. I need to change my, I need to respec my abilities too. I keep forgetting to do that. I don't know what this thing does yet, so... It's a bit of stress taken care of, at least. That's a tough... Okay, good.
Clarified in a single strike.
Stress is actually the thing I was most worried about on that. You are the healer! This is so hard. Oh.
This is no place for the weak or foolhardy.
I have literally no abilities available for this person. Oh no!
More dust, more ashes, more disappointment.
You'd have to be.
A moment of valor shines brightest against the backdrop of despair.
So basically we don't have any attacks, so in this case I have to retreat.
A wise general cuts losses and regroups.
So how do I... So if I abandon, I think that just means Sharp dies. There doesn't seem to be... Well... Okay, first of all, let's respec. Oh, I didn't even pick these abilities. Fair enough. So mostly, at this point, I just want to kind of see what I can find inside inside the darkest dungeon. Like, I guess
injury and despondence set the stage for
They're sent, they will fall.
or cowardice.
It's a valiant stand being made by Sharp. It's such a shame that there's no hope.
This skirmish may be lost, but the battle may yet be won.
So, I mean, obviously here, we can try moving into the... I'm trying to wring out every last bit of exploration, assuming that this character is destined to die. Okay, so if we abandon...
A setback, but not the end of things.
Oh, but Sharp doesn't die. Interesting. Okay. Man.
We dug for months, years, an eternity, and we were rewarded with madness.
Experienced hero for hire. This veteran will fight for you in exchange for a fair sum of crystal shards. Now, the thing is I already have three, I already have like 3 musketeers. Musketeers are basically reskinned arbalists, so in addition to being short on shards, deal doesn't quite work for me. But man, okay. I don't know if I have another Dargis dungeon run in me, because that's obviously going to take some time. The thing is, I do kind of want to try a second one just so I can see whether or not we see the same floor plan. But let's take a minute here. Obviously, we faced the darkness and found we're in deep doo-doo. Okay, pretty good haul of new heroes. So we're gonna kick out Vitalis in exchange for
Suffer not the lame horse, nor the broken man.
better grave robber. We don't need another arbalist. If I wanted another arbalist, I would have hired the musketeer. Let's sort by class again. Shieldbreaker would not be bad. I did actually get rid of a secondary Hellion.
Barbaric rage and unrelenting savagery make for a powerful ally.
I only have one Houndmaster, so that might help.
A lawman and his faithful beast. A bond forged by battle and bloodshed.
Do I only have one bounty hunter now? I guess that's right, because I lost one. Okay, maybe I... Well, I mean, it doesn't make sense to keep the roster empty. I can see myself use it. Well, yeah, it's a tough call. Let's bring the highwaymen because they're the higher level.
Elusive, evasive, persistent. Righteous traits for a rogue.
Let's see what we can convert our crests into. Or sorry, what we can convert into crests, rather.
In time, you will know the tragic extent of my failings.
Oh, actually, it occurred to me. I think there's an achievement if you send like a bunch of level 0 people into a Darkest Dungeon run. Yeah, so we can fight the Shrieker if we want to get the items back. Am I willing to sacrifice another batch of level 6? Well, like, I guess the big thing I need to ask is, like, what am I accomplishing by trying to keep them safe, right? Like, these guys kind of exist to be used. So if I brought Liborg, it's definitely weak on healing. The alternative is I just go and take a round against the Horrid Shrieker to get the stuff back. I don't know, like, the thing is, I'm kind of recognizing the hour, and I'm trying to decide if I have another round in me or not. Would you all be mad if I call it here, or do you want to see me do another Darkest Dungeon run? Actually, tell you what, let's do the Shrieker. That'll be my compromise. We're off to a good start.
The end approaches.
Ah. This is horrifying.
Perched at the very precipice of oblivion.
I can't believe I'm already at this point.
Unnerved, unbalanced.
God
Another life
damn.
wasted in the pursuit of glory.
This is supposed to be an easy one. We can do some more damage now, but we lost a big damage dealer, so... I think in this case we're gonna keep stacking on the vulnerability. Well, we knew that was gonna happen.
Frustration and fury, more destructive than 100 cannons.
Not much of a return. Oh wait, hang on. We get him when we finish the... Okay, that's a little better. Well, that was a tough one. Okay, so I gotta cure some diseases. I need to cure some stress.
The degeneracy of the hamlet is nothing, I fear, when compared to the condition of surrounding acres.
The tumultuous currents in the ether bluster with extra vigor tonight. The comet particulates vibrate with extra intensity. So, I think maybe at the start of next stream, I'm going to... I'll do the farmstead, but I think I'm done for tonight. Just because I think the game, like I kind of know when I'm in a spot where I'm making kind of dumb decisions, and I've gone from having like a deep bench of level 6s to a slightly more fragile setup, particularly when I think of having things like jesters, which are maybe not going to be the most helpful in the coming fights. So, I won't say no to another shield breaker. We did lose one. And I do like flagellants, but I've already got a level 4 one. Well, then again, I've also got a couple highwaymen, don't I? So, yeah. So what we're going to do is we'll boot this one.
Slumped shoulders, wild eyes, and a stumbling gait. This one is no more good to us.
So that's kind of raising the overall level of the roster as well. Okay, interesting. I have no idea how I'm going to handle the Darkest Dungeon, but others have done it before me. Certainly, I was willing to take the kind of take the praise. I was willing to take the fun when when I was taking out bosses on the first try, and now I need to see a whole new set of challenges and see how I can take them on. But yeah, I think that's it for me tonight. I kind of wanted to go a bit deep on the time, but I'm definitely sort of feeling the limits of my ability. And I mean, I'm kind of half hour over my normal time anyway. So let's see who's online and who I can give a host to. Thank you everyone for hanging out and watching. I'm sorry that I'm not ending. I know like last time we ended on like a real fireworks show of an ending. And this time, it's a little bit more of a minor a minor ending. But I don't know. I mean it's a big milestone because we've taken out all the bosses. We're ready to go to the Darkest Dungeon, and we've learned we are not the flame. We are moths. So I'm looking forward to knocking this thing back and seeing how I grow. Just as a kind of a preview for things coming up, I'm going to be recording some more YouTube videos over the weekend. So I'm trying to do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for those of you who like that. Monday evening, we'll be back to Stellaris. Now, I need to see what's going on with the local game dev meetup, but if I recall correctly, that will be happening on Wednesday. But on Wednesday, I believe there's also a Phantom Brigade update. So my plan for that is I am going to do Phantom Brigade. If the local game dev meetup happens, it'll probably be a shorter stream that starts an hour earlier. If the meetup doesn't happen, it'll be the usual 7 to 10, or obviously whatever time I start, plus 3 hours. And then Friday, we're going to be back to Darkest Dungeon. One of the things that I do want to try and do is maintain some progress on Industries of Titan, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that as a like a YouTube series, or if I'll just try and add an extra day to streaming. I'm already kind of pressed on time, but I'll figure that all out. And as always, Twitter's kind of the place to go to figure that out. But if you're here for Darkest Dungeon, that'll be in a week, and hopefully I'll be stronger against the forces of darkness. And if you're here for the sound of my voice, I'll see you all on Monday. I'd love it if you'd stick around. Night Valian, who was here earlier, is playing Parasite Eve, which I've never actually played, but he's been on a bit of a classic game kick lately. And I was making fun of his feelings about RNG, so I feel it would only be nice to host him tonight. He's also a soft-voiced Brazilian streamer, so I know those are some of the qualities. Obviously, I'm not Brazilian, but I know those are qualities that a few of you like about this stream, and I feel like Night Valian is a decent, kind of a decent, I won't say substitute, but follow-up. Thank you all for watching again. I'll see you all in a couple days, or I'll see you all in a week. Either way, have a wonderful weekend, and until then.